Jack Spade back here with you, High Noon Leatherworks, back for another leather adventure. And today we're going to start a new project, and we're going to do a guitar strap. And we'll have some hand carving and some stamping on it, so it will be quite decorative. We'll be putting a buckle on it for adjusting, and there will be some other little things that we haven't done before on the channel that I think you'll find interesting. So come on along, let's get started. So we have some nice veg tan leather here, and I had it rolled up and tied, so it is a little stiff. And what we're going to want to do first is I've got a cutter that will make a nice straight cut, the razor cutter, but you need to start with a nice straight edge first. So what we're going to have to do is straighten this edge up so that we have a good straight edge to begin with. So let me grab my long straight edge. What we'll do is, I don't want to take off any more material here than I have to, and obviously I don't want to cut into my flooring or my carpet, whatever it is, that linoleum, whatever it is that I'm cutting on here. So I'm just going to score this. And then move it down till it runs off the end. Make sure it's straight. And then what that'll do is that'll give me a mark where I can lift that up. It's naturally curling up anyway because I had it stored tied up and rolled up. So what that'll do is that'll allow that to curl back into, you can see it naturally rolling back up. And as I cut this on that mark, I'll let that naturally roll up. With me staying right on that score line that I did with my straight edge. I'll go down a little bit, I'll come back, and then it should just let me take my razor right through there. As you can see, that's coming off now. So as that rolls up, it's going to allow me to cut right on that mark. So I'm not cutting down on my flooring or my workspace, whatever it is you're cutting on. In this case, it happens to be my flooring. So, and it's carpet, so I don't want to cut my carpet. So I'll allow that to roll up naturally and cut that as we go, and that will give me my straight edge that I need. There's a piece cut off. I'll go back, go over that that scored mark one more time. That'll make it cut much easier as it rolls up. Remember, I'm not trying to cut all the way through. I'm just trying to cut through the top layer of that leather. So all I'm doing here is using a straight edge and cutting this preliminarily to get a good straight edge to work with on this leather. So there's my piece that I cut off of the edge that wasn't perfectly straight. Now I have a nice straight edge to work with over here. And might see how this thing reacts. I want a piece that's going to be 3 inches wide. So as it comes across the shoulder to hold the guitar, I think 3 inches wide would make it nice and comfortable. So I can set my cutter by loosening the end, and it does have a scale on it, so I can actually set that at 3 inches. And if you want to, you can use another straight edge and measure it to the blade itself, but it does measure 3 inches exactly. And what you're doing is, there is a razor blade between here, and you're taking that and you're cutting the leather with the razor blade, but the leather is going between the tool here. And then you're using the straight edge that you just cut on the leather over here. You're keeping this flat against that, and this has been sanded down flat, the handle, so that keeps you continuing straight as you continue down the leather. Now, getting it started is the key, especially when you don't have a perfectly square beginning. So we'll go ahead and get that started. Once you get going and you have the handle on the edge, all you're doing is guiding that handle on the edge of that leather and just pull it towards you. Once you get it started, that little razor blade in there will do the rest. So there's my 3-inch wide piece that I'm going to do all of my carving and stamping on. Here's a better look at this tool, and here's your adjustment knob. This slides in and out. There's your scale on there. There's the blade, and then the leather goes between that, and you can see the blade right here. That's what's going to do the cutting. And then here's the profile of the handle, and it's nice and flat, and that's what you pull against your straight edge of your leather, and that's how you end up with a perfect, in this case I set it for 3 inches, so you can see I ended up with a perfect 3-inch wide piece of leather that I can use for this guitar strap. I am going to round the ends of the strap, and then we'll attach pieces on each end. That's one end will be adjustable with a buckle, and then the other end will just be another small, narrower strap sewn in here to attach to the butt of the guitar. So I am going to round that off, and what I'm going to do to round that off is I'm going to get some type of pattern, something I can use as a pattern. This is a little small, and I keep all kinds of things laying around. Here's a magnifying glass, and that looks like that might be perfect for what I want to use. So I'll get my ballpoint pen and put my magnifying glass down. I'll trace around that, and that's what it gives me. It gives me that big, nice, broad, rounded edge when I cut that off. And then I'll come down to the other end and I'll do the same thing. So I keep things like that around in different shapes, especially round, like any kind of tape cores, you know, the core of inside of a roll of tape. They're all different sizes, different diameters. So I keep that stuff around. Let me put my cutter up here. That way, if I ever need something, and it always seems like it's always a different diameter or radius that you need. It's never the same twice. So I'll take this piece of leather, take my razor knife, and I'm going to cut that radius that I just marked on here. And remember, if you watched any of my videos in the past, I like to just cut through the top layer as I'm cutting a radius. I don't want to try to cut through the entire thickness. And then that makes my blade glide right through that, my second trip through. And two, that's going to depend on how sharp your blade is. You can clean that up as needed. But you can see there's my first radius on one end, and then we'll cut the second one. I will be beveling this and burnishing it, so we'll be cleaning up these edges, make them nice and smooth. About time for a new blade in my knife. Alright, so there's the second radius on there. So both ends got the rounded edge on them. So now I can move these scraps out of my way here, off of my cutting surface. Put my knife up and get my beveler out. I'll get my stropping piece of leather and polish my tools or tool. And all that is just a scrap piece of leather with some jeweler's rouge on it. And what that does is that really polishes up that surface and makes it cut real smooth. So we'll start on this end. And again, I'm using a smaller beveler, and I'm just cutting off that edge, that cornered hard edge of that leather. I'm not pressing hard, I'm just gliding that beveler right across that edge. And if you can make it without breaking the strand, great. If you can't, don't worry about it. It's easy to start back over where you left off, like right there. I can just start again. It's no big deal. The main thing is, or the key is, you want to make sure that you get that nice beveled edge, and you can take that sharp edge off of there with your beveler. And you can see how naturally that leather still wants to roll up. Take your time. Especially when you're on these radiuses. You don't want to dig too deep on those. Wrinkle up your leather. So take your time on those. Then we are going to flip it over and do the other side. So we're doing both sides, beveling. So get down to the radius, same thing as the other side. Lightly go around the corner. And then we'll go down the next side. Same as the front. We're just taking that hard, sharp corner or edge off of that leather on both sides. And what that'll do is That'll allow us to get a nice hard, shiny edge on this strap when we burnish it. So come around, do this radius, and that'll be strap. That'll be the end of it being beveled. So it's beveled on both sides, and we're ready to move on to the next step, which is going to be burnishing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this piece up the opposite way that it's wanting to naturally curl, and until I move on to the burnishing stage, I'll leave this sitting like this. I'll tie it up with a piece of lace, and I'll leave that sit like that, and then when I open it up to do my burnishing step, it will have set long enough that it should lay out fairly flat. So if you do run into that, you can roll it up the opposite way, tie it up with something. In this case, I'm going to tie it with a piece of lace, leather lace. I'll show you that as soon as I get it tied up. Kind of have to hold it with my legs. But tie it up with a piece of leather lace and just let it sit like that. When I open that up and get ready to do the burnishing, it should lay flat. We've cut out our 3-inch wide leather strap for our guitar strap, and we've got a nice straight 3-inch wide piece of leather. We've got our beveling done. We've got our radiuses on each end. So when you come back next time, we'll be moving on to the next step, and we'll be doing some burnishing and probably moving on to carving. So we've got a neat piece of artwork to put on this, so I can show you how to do that also. So make sure you come back and join us for the next episode. And like I always say, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.